Well, greetings and aloha to you all. Hope this day is finding you healthy, happy, and prosperous. I am coming to you from Kauai, which is the second show ever from the island of Kauai on New Thought Media Network, and that's because I'm on vacation, and it's where Vibrant Living Hour is coming to you from Kauai. This is my second show from Kauai. It's part two, if you will, and I'm thrilled to be here. And there's little things I'll tell you about the elements here. First of all, it's kind of windy here. It seems to be windy almost all the time on Kauai. So you'll see it. Maybe my camera will shake a little bit. Hi, Wayne. How are you? From Calgary. Wow. Calgary, Alberta, all the way to Kauai, Hawaii. Welcome, Wayne. Nice to have you with us. So you may see a little bit shaking on the camera, but that's just the wind. And today is predicted to be a rainy day. When the rain comes, it blows right in on the lanai I'm sitting on. So if there's this hasty retreat from where I'm sitting, you'll know what that's all about. And of course, I like to point out that this is the beautiful banyan tree behind me, which I just love. It's got dozens of trunks coming out of the ground. It's really a very extraordinary looking tree. And what else did I want to tell you about where I am? There was another thought, and I'm just, it'll come to me when it comes to me. Today, I told you in the last show, I do not have my big whiteboard here, my storyboard that I call it, behind my screen. But what I do have is my yellow pad. And over the course of the last couple of days and big time in my meditation this morning, a whole bunch of random thoughts came. So today's show, I think, might just be called Random Notes from Paradise, because they're just kind of, the notes are there, and I'm not sure how they're going to come out of my mouth, and I'm not sure how you're going to hear them, but I hope you appreciate it, because this is an extraordinary adventure. I think I said last time, I have not had a 2-week vacation in my entire life. This is my first one ever, and we are on day 10. And actually, it's kind of like, baker's dozen, where there's not 12, there's 13. Well, this is like a baker's 2 week, because I think we have, rather than 14 days, I think we actually have 15 days. So we got 5 days left to go here before we head back to Colorado. Just the most extraordinary time of my life. And I was looking forward to this, my first trip to Hawaii at all. And I've heard so much about the island of Kauai, where we are staying, and people just have nothing but great things to say about how beautiful it is and all the possibilities and so on and so forth. And there was not even the slightest bit of anyone told us about this magical place. It is just, there's 360 degrees wherever you look. There's a beautiful sight, and the ocean and the stone people, which are the incredible cliffs on different parts of the island, all volcanic rock. It's just extraordinary to look at, and the greenery and the lushness and the really truthfully healing energy of Kauai. And I don't know how to explain that other than that's just something you feel. You feel the healing energy of this place. And my wife and I we've just had an extraordinary time. There are a couple of things that occurred to me over the course of the last several days. There was a great expression, and I meant to look this guy's name up again. I think it's Robert Anton Wilson, maybe is his name. But he had this great quote. It's, "You are precisely as big as the things you love and precisely as small as the things that annoy you." And this is a great environment to just kind of have that be a practice. It's really extraordinary, because it's hard not to love everything and everywhere and what you're doing. You pay attention to the beauty of the place. You pay attention to the energy of the place. You pay attention to the extraordinary energy of the Hawaiian people, which that's a whole nother show, but they're just amazing. Last week, and I don't remember if we had already been on our little, our cruise, our snorkeling cruise. I don't remember if we had done that yet or not, but we met this extraordinary crew of people, a crew of 4, Captain Greg and Julie, Kai, and Kylie. They were an amazing foursome of people that shepherded us through this amazing cruise on a catamaran. And then a little snorkeling. I didn't snorkel, I just swam in the water, because they kind of warned us that it was really, really rough and you had to be a really strong swimmer. And I was like, I don't need to test how strong a swimmer I am, because I haven't done a whole lot of swimming in the last many years living in Colorado. not a whole lot of opportunities for swimming. There's not, your water access is kind of limited. So I just swam in the water, and they came to find out as time went by that really their idea was to kind of exaggerate a little bit of the conditions just to scare you into being safe, which was cool. And absolutely, Wayne, good vibes only. That's all this place is just one good vibe after another. But we met these wonderful people. 2 days later, we're getting gas at a Costco station in our friend's car that they're letting us use, our hosts. And there's this young man, Kai, who was kind of just everywhere on this boat, taking care of everything about the boat and everything about all the passengers. He was just an amazing guy. And there he was right next to us getting gas. So that was kind of amazing. That was kind of wonderful because he's a really cool guy. And one of the young ladies on the trip, Kylie, is his daughter. And she was this beautiful human being that my beloved Lisa and I had a couple of really nice conversations with. And oddly enough, she had been accepted to CU. She was actually coming to Colorado for college until COVID hit, and now she's doing a community college thing here. But I hope she gets the opportunity to do her kind of dream stateside, if you will. A little cup of coffee here, a lot of coffee here, great coffee here on the Hawaiian Islands. And I'm drinking my share of it, that's for sure. So then, here's one of the things that I really find extraordinary about this place. And it's a hard practice for me. And I think a lot of people might find this odd, but I have a tough time with gratitude. And the reason is because I have just kind of an innate, I don't want to say ability because it's not an ability, but an innate just reaction, if you will, or my response to beautiful things are just very similar to taking it for granted. Things happen and I forget to be grateful. That's probably the answer right there. I forget to be grateful. But here, in this magnificent trip that came as a result of several different things that just kind of fell into place. Ernie, nice to see you there, buddy. Thanks for joining us. And you can't help but be grateful. You have to be grateful. You see all this beauty around you, and it can't not occur to you to be grateful, even for me, who takes so much for granted in life. But I wanted to do some things here. I wanted to do a little bit. I really wanted to do a little bit of just gratitude about the things that I'm grateful for, and the things that I would be grateful for on this trip would be primarily the beauty of Kauai and the extraordinary life here, including the ever-present chickens and roosters that are kind of never ending. But the flip side of that is the people, the experiences. I'm grateful, first and foremost, I'm grateful for our hosts, our dear friends, Larry and Deborah, who have been inviting us here for years, and we finally got around to come. And they are the most extraordinary hosts as far as us. They said to us point blank, our house is your house. And that's really very much how it feels. We kind of have our own little private area. The second floor of their house is 3 bedrooms or 2 bedrooms, an office and a bathroom. And that's kind of that's our domain here. I'm out on the lanai outside of our bedroom doing the show. I wish I could figure out ways in Colorado to do more outside shows. I live in a townhouse in Colorado, so it's not so easy to do it outside, but doing it outside here is just an extraordinary adventure. I'm also very, very, very grateful for New Thought Media Network, for the ability to do this show, and in particular to Reverend Robert and his beloved wife, Laura, who really are the driving forces behind this, but also my dear friend, Reverend Elzia, who I have always known as Z. Z and I have been friends for many, many years, and as well as we've been friends with Robert and Laura. But Z and I were having just a random conversation that led to this show. I had no idea really that New Thought Media Network even existed. And within less than a month, I had the conversations with Robert and with Z and created a show, and here we are. Very, very, very grateful for the network and Robert and Lara and Elzia, very much so. Yesterday, my beloved Lisa and I went on a kayak trip with Wailua Kayak is the name of it, Wailua Kayak. And just an extraordinary group of people, an extraordinary company. We had an amazing time. We kayaked for approximately 5 miles, and we hiked then into, I think it's Wailua Falls, and we hiked 1.5 miles in and 1.5 miles out. And one of the most extraordinary hikes I've ever done. Good morning, Linda. How are you? Or good afternoon. It's morning here. It's afternoon where you are, from Woodland Park, Colorado. Thanks for joining me. And we just, from the moment we got to this place, to their base camp, or their place of business. So from the moment we got there, it was an extraordinary experience. Lisa and I were kind of accounting for traffic. There's a lot of traffic here. There's a lot of cars, a lot of tourists, and we had no traffic, and we got there extraordinarily early. And the person we met was a woman we didn't know this at the time, but a woman whose family owns the place, a beautiful young woman named Tarada. And Tarada guided us to go see another overlook in the falls, and took amazing care of us, getting us started and getting us on the road. We got everything together. They give you a little cooler backpack. No, not a little one, a big one. We had a lot of stuff in there. And they give you a good sized dry bag to put your clothes in, or your towels, or whatever you want to bring in there. That's also in the form of a backpack, which makes it very convenient. And they gave us that and instructed us how to use it. And then we went a whopping less than 5 minutes to the marina where we launched the boats. And we had this young lady, a guide named Tessa. Tessa was just an absolute joy to be, from start to finish. And for whatever reason, she and Lisa and I hit it off, and she spent a lot of time with us. And we were just can't be grateful enough for Wailua Kayak and Tarada and Tessa and their whole operation. It was just a fabulous experience. If you ever get the opportunity to do that kayak trip, remember that name, Wailua Kayak. These people are just fabulous to be in the company of. And that's something that, just another thing to be immensely grateful for here. And another piece of that little puzzle. Did you ever do something for your significant other? Did you ever do something just for them that you really, who cares? I went on this kayak trip. Lisa was obsessed with this. And I hope she doesn't mind me saying obsessed, because she was obsessed. She looked weeks ago, and there was plenty of availability for the kayaks. And we got here, and there was no availability for the kayaks. And she just lucked out by finding one opening for a double kayak on Wailua Kayak for this trip yesterday. And I was like, okay, fine, we're going. And I'm serious, I just couldn't have cared less about going. And I couldn't be more grateful for having had the experience. It was lovely. It was beautiful. The river was beautiful. The scenery was beautiful. Our guide, as I said, Tessa, was wonderful, but she also knew a lot of stuff about the foliage and the plant life. And there's a ginger plant. Remember the ginger family that grows in a spiral, actually. And it's got like this bulb that grows on it. Almost looks like a modification of a tulip, an unblossoming tulip, just that kind of pod-like thing. And you squeeze it, and when you squeeze it, you get this juice out of it, and it just keeps giving the juice unless you pluck it off, but it just keeps giving the juice. And you rub that in your hands, and it is the freshest, cleanest, gingery smell. Just awesome. And Tessa told us all about that. There's a little blue flower that you take up and you taste. And she told us ahead of time that the taste seems to vary depending on who you are and what flower you eat. It tastes either like honey or mushrooms. Now you figure that dichotomy out for me, because I don't know what the hell that is. But first flower I tried was honey. I tried 2 more from another plant. Both of them were tasting like mushrooms. So I get it. It was true. But again, immense gratitude for the experience of the trip. By the way, the falls was extraordinary. We went in the water around the fall. There's a pool, obviously, at the bottom, and we went into that pool. Nothing but rocks, more rocks, and slippery rocks, and dangerous rocks. So you got to watch your step everywhere you go. But the water was flipping cold. So we got in. I got in up to my waist. I ducked down to my shoulders. I didn't have it in me to put my head in. I mean, I just didn't have it in me. So we had lunch there on the rocks around the waterfall. Just beautiful. Again, gratitude. Lots and lots and lots of gratitude. I was also thinking about the culture, the different cultures. I'm probably going to take this home with me for the next show, because I didn't get a chance to research it thoroughly this morning. But there's a word for the elders in Hawaiian. It's called kapuna, Kapuna, kapuna. And it's actually a term of reverence. The elders are revered here. The elders are respected here. The elders are cared for here. And it's so reminiscent to me of virtually every culture on the planet except America. You know, and if you've been watching the show for any period of time, you know that I was reading that book, Growing Bolder. I got a lot of lessons about just the aging process and growing older as opposed to getting old. And part of that was just the idea that in America we treat aging like it's a disease. We treat it like it's a deterioration and a decline. And so many people go into that mode of they work all their lives and they retire, and they unfortunately retire to the couch and the remote and the TV set, and they start to deteriorate and they get disease and they wind up in hospitals, hospice, dead. Too many people in America, but that's part of the mindset we have in America around that, where it's a disease. It's something that you want to avoid. We have all this anti-aging thing. Think about that term, anti-aging. It means nothing. Hi, Cheryl. Thanks for joining us. It doesn't mean a darn thing. I mean, anti-aging, you can be anti-aging all you want. Aging doesn't care. You're going to age. We all age. It's a shared experience. Being human is a terminal condition. We will all, from the very first breath, age until we don't age anymore. We don't age anymore. We go off into whatever is your belief system around that. For me, we all go back to the consciousness. We all go back to spirit, to the divine, to the universe, to the overarching creative intelligence. We go back to that space, that condition. But everywhere else in the world, including here in Hawaii, the elders are respected and revered, as I said. Makes me think of a friend of mine, Doug, a guy by the name of Doug Goodfeather. Doug is a member of the Lakota Sioux from, I believe, out of Standing Rock in South Dakota is where he was. I think that's where he was born, actually. He was in the service. I interviewed him once for a magazine, Science of Mind magazine. I did an interview with him many years ago. But he now runs the Lakota Healing Center in Denver. And I'm not sure if you can connect the dots with me here, but when he writes he writes a lot of very thoughtful, spiritual, prayerful things on Facebook. And when he writes them, he starts with "Good day to all life," and he ends them all with "So let's make it a good one." And it seems to me that that's part and parcel of the entire vibrant aging and vibrant living experience. I start every day, the first thought in my head is, "Good morning, God. Thank you for this day." Which is really very personal, but I like Doug's idea of good morning to all life, or hello to all life, or good day to all life. All life. Because in the end, aren't I all life, and aren't you all life, and isn't all life you and all life me? There's only one of us. So we're all that. And that is all us. But in that, I get the regard for the life experience, the living experience, the kapuna experience, the growing older experience. I get that to be a part of what is to be celebrated. And we don't in the United States. We don't. And I think as I'm becoming a part of that growing bolder, growing older, vibrant living, vibrant aging demographic, it becomes more important to me to recognize that the elders of our world, of our community, they're important people. I also believe that this is a big, long explanation. I'm going to try and shorten this, but I believe we're at a time in history where the younger people right now, they are more than ever, any other generations previous, including the hippies, me, all right, the children of the 60s and 70s, they are more determined than ever to not have a darn thing to do with the world that we have created and destroyed. But I also believe from having conversations with them, they're not really so sure what they want it to be, what they want it to look like, how they want it to unfold in their existence. And consequently, I find that a little guidance comes in handy from people who have experienced life. And I'm not here to tell any younger person what to do, but I'm here to reinforce the idea that they can do whatever the hell they want, whenever they want, however they want. We create our lives via our thoughts. Everything that we experience is a direct result of what we believe and how we put into action that belief in the first step, the Martin Luther King first step. Faith is taking that first step when you can't see the whole staircase. Having that belief and the faith that everything is unfolding only and always for my good, for our collective good, actually. I think giving that advice or that knowledge, that wisdom to younger people is maybe the major part of the purpose of the baby boomers. And I can't keep track of what generation is what. I guess what's after us, after baby boomers, is that the millennials or is that younger? That's younger, I think. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Dividing us all into generations, I don't think has a beneficial purpose whatsoever, other than to maybe help us each recognize that we're a part of something. We're part of a particular demographic in the community. But that's that whole idea of respecting the aging process, of making the aging process something that we all understand we are participating in, and it will continue to progress. It doesn't have to degress. It can progress into new experiences of life. You always have to be, always be cognizant of your position in life, your limitations, as Dirty Harry said, man's got to know his limitations. I'm not sure if that was in a Dirty Harry movie or one of the Westerns, but Clint Eastwood said it. I know that much. Man's got to know his limitations. A woman's got to know her limitations. But at the same time, you have to be wide open to embrace opportunities and say yes to opportunities, like the opportunity yesterday to go on that kayak trip that I was about. Yeah, Wayne, definitely. I have to be careful about cutting yourself off from your higher self. And you do that by focusing on the condition and not focusing on the possibilities, on what's out there. What can be next? What can be next? Always. And God forbid that next becomes just a Groundhog Day replay of what was today. You want every day to be exciting and adventurous. And I'm learning that here on Kauai like I've never learned it in my life, because I'm having a good time and I'm having fun doing things differently. So that was cool. So back to my random notes here. Random Notes from Paradise is the name of this show today. And here's an interesting fact that I just learned a couple of days ago. The Hawaiian language, first of all, has the same vowels that we have, A-E-I-O-U. They are used in their language very much, as far as pronunciation goes, very similar to Spanish, A-E-I-O-U, which I found fascinating. That's very cool. The other piece that's really fascinating is how many consonants are there in the Hawaiian language? There are 7. Only 7. If you look at Hawaiian words, you're only going to see those 7. They are H-K-L-M-N-P-W. End of story. Go look for Hawaiian words. That's all you're going to find is those 7 consonants. I was like fascinated, blown away by that. They spell everything in their language, 7 consonants and 5 vowels. Whoa. Seems like a whole lot simpler than 26 combined, doesn't it? It doesn't, compared to 26. Makes it easy. But then we had on the kayak trip yesterday, we were one of the groups with us was a fellow who was an Indian immigrant and his 2 young sons, and they were pronouncing and saying their names for us. And so many of the names from the Indian people, they have 36 characters as opposed to 26 characters in their language, and we don't have letters to represent sounds that their names are comprised of in India. So I found that fascinating. He was explaining that to me, that this dad, and it was really very, very, very cool. I had an interesting Facebook conversation this morning with a young lady who I adore, a young girl who was one of the students in the teen church at Mile High Church, where my beloved Lisa and I would teach metaphysics on Sundays to the teens, to the high school age kids. And this young lady, I won't give out her name just in case she doesn't want to anyone to know this, but she's having trouble with overthinking. She says she overthinks everything. She overthinks things to the point of getting depressed and crying and not being able to sleep. And that's really, I mean, you know, she's in her early 20s. And I said, you know what? Meditate. She said, I meditate almost every day. Some days I sit, some days I listen to music. And I said, you know what? Just try sitting quietly and using a mantra. And she said, of course, do you have any suggestions? So I get, you know, and I gave out some suggestions to her, and I think, and I'll repeat them here for anybody who might be interested. I'm a firm believer that the voice of God is in the silence, that we need to quiet our mind in order to hear guidance. And by the way, when I say the word God, I've always had this thing in the back of my mind ever since I started studying metaphysics. I have always recognized that people who come from primarily all the Judeo-Christian traditions, those people, a lot of them have baggage with the word God. By the way, if you hear a little motor sound in the background, UPS guy just pulled in and for whatever reason beeped his horn twice, but he's delivering a package. He's in the driveway. The sights and sounds of paradise randomly occurring as we do random notes from paradise. So I had a couple of suggestions. Back up, finish the thought, right? God to me is an acronym, G-O-D, Guidance on Demand. Something that came to me in meditation many years ago when I was looking for a word or a way to assuage that fear that people have around God, or the negative feelings they have around God. That guy in the sky, as a minister friend, Barry Ebert of mine, always used to say, he was always kind of concerned that God was always mad, and always seemed to be especially mad at him, because never mind, we won't go there. But God to me is the overarching creative intelligence of the universe. And G-O-D is guidance on demand, which comes from that overarching creative intelligence of the universe that we can channel, if you will, we can tap into, that we are part of, and we can make use of it to the degree that we become aware of it. And I believe that is done in the silence. Now, people who are way smarter than me, and people who have been practicing different kinds of meditative and spiritual practices that go back thousands of years, they do walking meditations, they do gardening meditations, doing the dishes can be a meditation. I beg to differ, unless you're a pro, unless you're a Buddhist monk. I absolutely believe that you have to keep your eyes closed in order to truly have the meditative experience or the meditation experience. Those other practices can be meditative. I don't think they're really, they don't lend themselves to real meditation, simply because 80% of the information that you process in your brain comes in through your eyes. So trying to quiet your mind, quiet the noise, and access that inner self, that intuition, that what Esther Hicks and Abraham called the inner being. Trying to access that requires a diminution of your senses, if you will. Closing your eyes being number one, since that's where 80% of the information comes from. So for this young lady friend of mine, I told her that there's a couple of ones that I got, the really simple ones I got from Wayne Dyer many years ago in one of his I'm not sure it was a book or one of his PBS specials, but he talked about using just the very simple mantra of Om, which everybody's familiar with, just Om. Tremendous vibrational thing when you do that, when you elongate that. And I have always liked the idea of practicing it, saying it out loud many times, as many as feel comfortable to you, and then getting quieter and quieter and quieter until you're only doing it inside. And you maintain that vibration. I think when you do that, you can feel that vibration in your chest, in your heart, in your brain. You can feel it everywhere. And Wayne Dyer always said that Om was the sound of gratitude. What could be a better way to focus your meditation than on a sound of gratitude? The other thing he had that was in the same talk was you can use just ah, and you will also get that vibrational feeling. You will definitely understand that if you do it. And Wayne always said that ah was the sound of God. And the reason he said it that way was because almost all the words you can think of that we use for our different ideas of God have that ah sound in them. Even God, even just God has that ah sound. Yahweh, Jehovah, all of them. Basically, just go run through the litany of them. Um, there's unfortunately I don't remember. There's a Lakota word that also has that a in it. Is it Tinkashwa? I'm not sure. But then anyway, that ah sound is in there. So Wayne said use those two. Now the other ones that I have that I thought about while I was working with this young lady is you can also just use words, familiar words. Use love or peace. Just repeat them over and over and over again. I particularly like the idea of using the word when you experience this kind of thing where my young friend is experiencing with the overthinking, where you can actually, if you catch yourself, if you work on catching yourself when you're overthinking, you can stop yourself. And rather than just using the mantra sound, you can use the mantra word. Just repeat love over and over and over again if you find yourself overthinking. I think that's a great idea. That works. And there was another one that I came up with that for the life of me, I thought I would remember it, and I think it's gone completely out of my head. But of course, you can also go to almighty Google and Google mantras, and you will get many. You'll get all kinds of variations of things you can use. My thought is experiment with the ones that work for you. I listen to a lot of music while I meditate that in combination with my mantra. And my mantra is a TM mantra that I won't go into, but I use them together, and I use the music because I have always had an issue with my mind, my monkey mind, following the noises around me, the barking dog, here in Kauai, the crowing roosters, whatever the sound is, I find my mind following that. So I use the music to help kind of, I want to just close in that space, if you will, so that there's the sound is basically the music. I can still hear most of the time because I'm using earbuds. I can hear other sounds, ambient sounds around me, but I don't focus on them the way I would have in the past. So I use that. So you can use the music, you can use the mantra. I think the most important piece from my perspective is closing your eyes and sitting and just being in the silence. Once again, the voice of God is in the silence. The voice of that guidance on demand is in the silence. You can go into your meditation with an intention to get a certain wisdom, a certain knowledge, answer to a question. You go into that. I'm not saying that you will get it 100% of the time, but when you go in there with an intention, chances are your subconscious inner being is going to bring you the information you seek. So yeah, that was the meditation piece. I want to go back to that idea earlier about saying yes to opportunity. There's the great movie, the Robin Williams movie, The Dead Poets Society, where the motto of the whole movie is Carpe Diem, seize the day. And there's a quote I say every morning from Rumi. I have kind of my own variation on it to make it more personal, but it basically is, the idea of the quote is, today I allow myself to be silently drawn by the strange pull of what I truly love. It will not lead me astray. What are the things you love to do? What are the things you just embrace more than anything else in the world? Embrace them. Embrace them. And I'm learning here at 70 years old, all of these great lessons that I've been told my whole life, all of a sudden, they're making sense to me. There is no tomorrow, gang. There is no tomorrow. No one is promised tomorrow. Yesterday on our kayak trip, as we hiked into the falls, right in front of us, 5 minutes before us, a group before us, a tree fell. A big tree fell. And it whacked a piece of it, a branch of it, whacked one woman in the head, cut her head. She was going back to the kayak. She was not continuing the walk. But she was within this of being struck by a tree and killed. There is no tomorrow. We all live in that, right? We all live on someday I'll, right? Someday I'll do this. Someday I'll do that. There is no day of the week called someday. It's not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, someday. No. It's today, and it's only today, and it's now, and it's only now. It's not even the whole flipping day. It's just now. Whatever you wish to do, do it. What did Goethe say? Whatever you can do or believe you can, begin it. Boldness has power, magic, and genius in it. or power, genius, and magic in it. One of those things. That's from Goethe, and that's a great quote. Whatever you can do or believe you can, begin it. And Mel Robbins, I think it's who it is, has that great book out, the 5-second. What is it called? Oh my God, I don't know what it's called. I don't know. It'll come to me eventually. But you have basically, when you have an idea, when you have a thought about what you want to do, you have about 5 seconds to get going, to move in that direction. Otherwise, your ego starts to talk you out of it. And that's what. And as we age, as we grow older, that inclination to say no becomes larger and larger and more prevalent, because it just gets easier to say no. You have your aches and pains. You have your whatever limitations that growing older have bestowed upon you. You have those things going on in your life, and that's just the way it is, and that happens to everyone. And you've heard me talk about this before. Which my excuse me, one of my favorite expressions, favorite 2 words of all times, is compressed morbidity, where basically you do what you want to do, you enjoy yourself, you're active, you're vibrant, you're alive until the very end. There is no hospitalization in hospice. There is nothing but activity. Told the story several different times about the old fella that the people from Growing Boulder were going to interview. And he was a world champion bicyclist in his age group, which was, what was his age group? I believe it was over 90. And he was either 95 or 97 or something ridiculous like that. And he was riding bikes. He won a race, and they were early in the week. And he was going to be interviewed on Saturday, and somewhere between the race and Saturday, he just died like 3 days after he won the race. And I think he was 97. That's compressed morbidity, as opposed to just sitting on the couch waiting for the decline, waiting for the inevitable Grim Reaper, because the Grim Reaper is going to come slowly, diabolically, and probably painfully if you go that route. So I'm learning at 70 years old, get up off my ass and do stuff. The scuba cruise, the kayak and hike yesterday. Today we're going to go to a canyon and look at that, I think today or tomorrow, or we're both pretty worn out after yesterday. It was from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock, 5 hours. And we probably didn't actually hit the water until 20 after 1, maybe. And so basically, for something in the vicinity of 4.5 hours, with the exception of 20 minutes to eat our lunch, we were moving. We were hiking. We were in the water under the waterfall. We were paddling those kayaks. The 2.5 miles to where we were going in the kayaks was the good news was we were with the wind, which wasn't very much because it was early afternoon. The wind is kind of quiet, but we were going against the current. Coming back, exactly the reverse. We're going with the current, but against the wind. And again, the wind wasn't much, so it wasn't a factor. We were told that the wind could be really strong and be a big factor. We lucked out. We didn't get that. But we were moving that entire time, and it's and as I love to talk about, if you want to keep moving, you have to keep moving. It's pretty simple. It's a pretty simple equation. If you want to stay alive, vibrant, healthy, flexible, strong, move. Just move. Talk all the time about the idea. This show is about living your best life mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And I am as convinced as I can possibly be that the physical is perhaps the most important piece. Now they're all intertwined, and they're all, you can work on the physical spiritually and mentally and emotionally, but the truth is, if you are physically declining, you tend to put your focus on that. You've all heard the story of my back and the degenerating disc. Spend a good portion of every meditation focused on the regeneration, rehydration of those discs and being healthier and stronger and more flexible and more vibrant. And I absolutely believe that that's making a difference. I feel it in my back, that my back is, and of course my exercises are around my core so I can feel stronger and more upright, but that's all about the physical. Now, of course, I've said before, my doctor told me in 2 different conference calls, my doctor said that my proactive approach to this and my positive attitude will make all the difference in the world, because too many people get a diagnosis like, they call this degenerative disc disease. She said it's a horrible name, simply because it's really not a disease. It's just they're degenerating. It's age or injury related most of the time, but it's people get that kind of a diagnosis and they kind of like throw up their hands and go, oh, well, here we go. It's all downhill from here. Too soon for me. Too soon. I really have my head focused on that centenary mark. Love to live to be 100. Love to get over 95 and just be vibrant, healthy, flexible, supple. Just stay in shape. Move, do yoga, stretch, meditate, good nutrition, good sleep. Sleep is a problem as you get older, or can be a problem as you get older. Do whatever it takes. You know, I meant to have it out here with me today, but I forgot it. You know, my sponsors are my business, my CBD, my 750 milligram CBD, best sleep aid ever. And I also take another spray that's from the same umbrella company, but it's a nutritional spray called Sleep. I do 8 squirts of that under my tongue and a dropper full of CBD. Best sleep I've had in years and years and years. But some of that also comes from my meditation and prayer work on my physical well-being, on taking care of my body. But it's the physical, it's the doing, it's the get up and go and get up and do what you love. My wife years ago, my beloved Lisa was a runner when she was younger, and she got me running. And I ran with her. I never ran fast. I basically didn't keep up with her, but I ran with her for a while. And about maybe a year and change, I just said, what the hell am I doing here? My knees don't like this. I'd injured my knees in injured each knee in different mishaps over the years. And my knees didn't like it. Now that's the reason I stopped the running, but I was also getting very conscious of the fact that my body didn't like the pounding that it took on my ankles, my knees, my hips. My body just didn't like that. I didn't feel good, so I stopped doing it. Now I have, as time goes by, you need to find other things to do to compensate for that, because your knees, your legs, your quad muscles, your hamstrings, those are big muscles. They contribute to your core strength and to standing upright. You have got to exercise those muscles. So we're kind of meandering into another subject here. But again, I told you at the beginning of the show, right? This is random notes from paradise today. So go with me here, gang. I learned a while ago, just from watching videos on exercise as you age. And I watched this one guy showed me some exercises that are body weight exercises. Body weight exercises are great. And for all you people out there who are going, I got to join a gym. Now that COVID's over, I'm going to join a gym. I'm going to join the YMCA. I'm going to start swimming. I'm going to start running. I'm going to start doing the treadmill, the elliptical. I'm going to do this, that, the other thing. I'm going to lift weights. Baloney. Most of the time, that falls into the category of someday I'll, right? That's all on someday I'll. There in the middle of the island of someday I'll. Someday I'll do this. Someday I'll do that. Someday I'll do the other thing. The truth is, most of the time, we don't do any of that. Someday I'll is really a place we never get to. It's that vacation spot we never visit, right? You don't need to do any of that if you know body weight exercises. Body weight exercises are easy. The 3 that I started with were squats, and lots of places that I read say that as we grow older, squats are one of the most important exercises we can do, because it literally exercises everything from the waist down, gets all those big muscles, including your glutes. You know what? You see lots of older people with their butts are disappearing. Big mistake, because it holds up your body. It keeps you erect. It keeps your core strong. Your glutes are a huge piece of your core strength, and you use them for everything. I mean, your glutes are working when you're sleeping, when you're lying down, when you're sitting, when you're standing, when you're walking, whatever you're doing, your glutes are involved. So you want to get them engaged, which is squats help do that. Now when I do the squats, I also, in the downward motion, I lift my arms up. So I'm also getting some work in my upper body. Excuse me, it burns calories. So if you're looking to lose weight and keep weight off, now I told everybody a while ago, I lost 9 pounds doing kind of my own modified 11-day cleanse. I actually did it for 10 days, and I lost 9 pounds, 9.5 pounds. I have not only kept it off, I think I've continued to lose a little bit of weight as I have continued to do those body weight exercises because they do burn a lot of calories. So the squats is number one. Number two is push-ups. The age-old push-up. And it exercises so much of your body. If push-ups are an issue with you, if you're feeling, like if you don't have the upper body strength to start doing regular push-ups, do them with your knees on the ground and do the push-up. Do as many as you can. You don't have to start out with 3 sets of 20. Just do as many as you can do. Take a break, do it again. You can do it. There's a great idea in the weightlifting world that you do your exercise until failure, which means you go until you can't go anymore. I'm not a big fan of that in some instances, because I think as we get a little bit older, you got to be a little bit careful about hurting yourself if you go to failure. But do the push-ups the best you can. And the last one is lunges. And lunges they're a big exercise, and they're really you'll feel them. Lunges are you stand up straight and you reach out with your left leg and crouch down or drop your butt, if you will, and then come back, and then your right leg and back, and that's one. And then you do them both again. So I do 10 of each, and then I do that 3 sets. And if I feel really energetic and I want to do a little bit more, I will do another set of the squats and the push-ups. I also added another modified squat where you actually get into the lunge, where you get into the lunge position, and then just drop your butt. And actually, this one particular exercise, you have to be careful about this, depending on what your knees are like, and lean forward, leaning your knees over your toes, past your toes. So, and you do that 10 times and then switch legs. The other body weight exercises you can do is the age-old, invented by Jack LaLanne. Others say it was a military exercise that Jack adopted, but it is the jumping jack. An extraordinary exercise. Do a minute of jumping jacks at the best speed you can master, and you'll be working out, man. You'll feel that. Trust me, you'll feel it, and you'll be winded. It's a great exercise. So that's just a few of them. There's you can step side to side. You can turn it, go step side to side, and then jump kind of hop from side to side to increase the movement, increase the movement and the muscles that you're using and how much you're using them. Got to be a little bit careful, though, again, about the joints. As we grow older, we want to be careful about the joints. Almost everybody has some deterioration going on in the joints as they grow older. It's my thing has been discovering that I really need to exercise those joints as I've grown older more than I did before. So that's a big piece. What else we got for you here today in the random notes from paradise? Excuse me. That's really funny. I had this big page of notes, and I think I've almost covered everything I wanted to say, which is good. That's a good thing. So I hope you enjoyed Random Notes from Paradise. I hope you like that title. I know Cheryl did. She made a comment on it. I think my point always with vibrant living and vibrant aging, my point always is that it is something to be conscious of, because we are all going to experience this. This is going to be a part of everyone's existence. The idea is to stay as vibrant, as healthy, as strong, to live stronger, healthier, better, longer. That's all. To just make sure that you do your very, very best to make every day the best day you've got. Because once again, remember, there's no tomorrow. There is no flipping tomorrow. It just isn't there. I am here to answer any questions you have. By the way, if you have questions about any products I mentioned, the CBD or the sleep spray and any of those things, if you have questions about those, just you can email me, or you can go to the Facebook page, facebook.com Vibrant Aging. Go there, ask a question. I'm glad to answer any questions you have. You can also you can go to this email address, teamrocketnow@gmail.com. And as I always like to remind you, it's Team Rock It, like Rocket Baby, teamrocketnow@gmail.com. It's not rocket ship, it's rockitnow@gmail.com. Once again, glad to answer any and all questions that you might have. And let's not forget this one here. This is important. New Thought Media is a nonprofit organization. We exist at your pleasure, and we are thrilled for any and every single donation we get. We're not concerned with the amount. We're concerned with having followers and donators, people who want this network to survive, want this network to grow and expand, bring more entertainment, bring more, if you like shows like the Vibrant Living Hour, more informational shows, more entertainment, as I said, music, whatever we can bring to you in the area of raising consciousness for us all. Remember, there's only one consciousness, right? There's only one consciousness, and we are all participating in it to the degree that we become aware of it. And the best part about consciousness is it is the ultimate example of a rising tide lifts all boats. If you are raising your consciousness within the consciousness, the rest of consciousness comes with you because there's no place else to go. That's what New Thought Media is all about. So go to our website, newthoughtmedia.org. That's ntmedia.org. Click on the donate button, and whatever your little heart desires, we will be immensely grateful and very, very, very thankful for your support in every way possible. So there's that piece there. That's and I think I'll leave that banner up for anybody who might be interested. I want to there's another new comment here. Wow, what a great question to answer to end the show on here, Wayne. Wayne says, what amps up my faith in oneness? That's a big question. And I think I probably got enough time to answer it here. And by the way, before I answer that question, I want you to know, Wayne just said, there we go. Am I back? We had an internet glitch there. Please, somebody who's listening, tell me that I am back. I had an internet glitch earlier before I started the show. Want to make sure we're all good. We got a little wind blowing here in Kauai. So if you're listening, Wayne, can you hear me? Am I back, Wayne? Just give me a comment. But if you have any thoughts or questions or comments that you would like me to address, or you would like to have addressed here on the show, please put them in the comments during the show, or send me an email at the email address that's on your screen, teamrocketnow@gmail.com. And I'll be glad, or go to the Facebook page, Vibrant Aging on Facebook, and I'd be glad to address whatever issues you have in mind. So Wayne, the question, what amps up my faith in oneness? What amps up my faith in oneness is my own ability, because to me, embracing the oneness is the most important piece of my spiritual journey. I think it is my biggest challenge. I think it's also my, it's the lessons that I'm learning. I spent an enormous portion of my life being incredibly judgmental. Judgment is still a problem with me, and every time you step into judgment, you're out of the oneness, right? There's no thought of oneness if you're being judgmental, because you just made something or someone or some experience the other. If it's the other, whoops, where'd oneness go? Because it's not called the otherness, it's called the oneness. So it's about, how do I embrace it? How do I see you, Wayne? Do I see you as a fellow traveler in the consciousness, as just that idea that there's no place where I end and you begin, no place where I end and Cheryl begins, no place where I end and anyone begins, and no place where they end and I begin. We are just one. And when I can look at all beings without judgment, maybe even more, I read something about this the other day that's worth going into more deeply, but I'd have to read a little bit more about it to wrap my mind around it. But the idea of being more around questioning or making a statement. I hope that person is enjoying where they're at. I hope that person is enjoying their trip through the consciousness, their trip to the oneness, whether they recognize the oneness or not. I recognize it. And I think that's what amps me up, Wayne. I have to recognize it. If I don't recognize it, it ain't happening. And if I recognize it, then I have the opportunity to be inclusive of all beings. You know, the Optimist Creed, which I read to you last week, is to one of the lines in the Optimist Creed is to wear a cheerful countenance at all times and give every living creature you meet a smile. There's a way to amp up the oneness. I have made it a point here on Kauai to try to make eye contact with the person I pass and say hello. I'm trying. It's really funny. Lisa and I, ever since our first trip to Mexico, we always say hola, as in hi, because that's what all the help at the resorts we stayed at in Mexico said. They walked by, hola. Everybody was just a thing. So we're trying to learn here in obviously in Kauai, hola is not the thing. It's aloha. and that's another thing I think maybe I'll bring that to the next show, is to dig deeper into the whole aloha thought process. But to look everyone in the eye, to give them a smile, and to greet them all with a smile and aloha, and to do the same thing for everything that annoys me. Back to the very beginning of the show, to the quote from, I believe the guy's name was, again, I forgot his name again. I'll get back to it somewhere along the line. But I am precisely as big as the things I love, and precisely as small as the things I allow to annoy me. So if I am conscious that something is annoying me, and I switch right away to the love piece. Love, you don't have to love anything for what it's, anyone or anything for what it's doing or what's happening. You love them for their very existence. Love them because they are a part of the world as one. You know what, Wayne? I think that's a great idea. Wayne just says, breathing the word one. That can be used as a meditation as well. Just breathing the word one. Every time something annoys you, just say one. I'll finish with one final thought here. Many years ago, there was a great skit, and I want you to Google this and look it up. Just Google Bob Newhart. That's Newhart, for those of you who aren't old enough to remember the comedian Bob Newhart. But Bob Newhart, stop it. Bob Newhart did a skit where he was a psychiatrist. He charged a nickel an hour, and the woman walked in and said, "Why is it a nickel an hour?" And he said, "You'll find out in a minute." And every issue that she had, his response was, "Stop it." And I used to teach that to the teens. I used to teach it as what I call a circuit breaker. And that's what you have, Wayne, with the idea of breathing the word one. That's a circuit breaker. Anytime you can interrupt the negative thought, or the thought that is not serving you, or the thought that is less than who you truly desire to portray yourself as in the world, or present yourself as in the world, that's a circuit breaker. So anytime I find myself in that area of judgment, I can just simply say, stop it. If I find myself in meditation thinking a thought that's way far afield, something I don't want anything to do with in my meditation, I can just say, stop it. And I did it this morning because I had it down here on my pad. That was the one thing I never talked about. Bob Newhart and stop it. It's a great circuit breaker. So anytime you find yourself out of the oneness, judging, just simply go to the circuit breaker. Stop it. And then embrace the oneness. Back to the original point, Wayne, I believe that it is my biggest challenge. I believe it is all of our biggest challenge, because simply if we can get to the oneness, if we can get to that idea of oneness and stay in that thought process of oneness, or stay there, as Ernest Holmes would say, at least 51% of the time, we will eventually reach a tipping point where we believe that all the time. But that faith in the oneness is, to be more specific about your question, Wayne, the faith in the oneness is the starting point. You have to have faith that that is, period. Oneness is. There's no, is it oneness or? It's only oneness. That's catch it, check it, change it. That's very funny, Wayne, because my wife and I, years ago in a workshop that I did, I came up with an idea of catch and correct. I catch myself doing what it is that I would rather not be doing, or that is out of the integrity of who I am. I catch myself doing that, and I immediately catch myself and correct it. And I don't correct it by saying you're such a jerk, such a loser, you shouldn't be doing that. I correct myself just simply by saying next time I'll do better. That's it. I'm coming up on an hour here, and I don't know if you go past your hour, if StreamYard cuts you off, or if you're done or what. As always, I am immensely grateful for the great gift of your time and your attention. I hope you will join me next Thursday live at 3:00 Mountain Time. I hope you watch in the archives, in the podcast replay, whatever it is. I hope you join me whenever the show is on. Until the next time, namaste and thank you. Aloha.